The last time I didn't finish a race that I started was 5 years ago in a muddy cross country that I was not ready for when I fell flat on my face. That is until a couple of weeks ago when I had my first DNF in 5 years, when I got about 2.2 miles into the 10K that I was racing. And today I'm gonna talk you through why I didn't finish, why I dropped out of that race, exactly what happened, and I'm also gonna talk about why it's not the end of the world. Obviously, as a professional runner, you never stand on a start line wanting to drop out of a race, but I'm very aware that it happens to people in the elite fields and also people in the masses. So I want to destigmatize DNFing a little bit and talk a little bit about when it's the right thing to do. There's absolutely no shame in it. And I'm also going to be unboxing a very exciting package in today's video. So stick around for that. My dishwasher is having a main character moment. Just try and block that sound out as best you can. So a couple of weeks ago, I put myself on the start line of the Ribble Valley 10K, which is a road race about an hour north of us here. It was specifically on the plan to have a race before doing my next race, what we like to call a rust buster. And the function of that race is kind of to introduce some pain callousing, remind you how hard racing can be, and to rip the band-aid off before doing the race that's more important, which in this case was the Houston half marathon that was coming up about 3 weeks after this 10K. I didn't want to put myself on the start line for the Houston half marathon having not raced since the Berlin marathon at the end of September. That's like nearly 4 months without racing, which is a good way to kind of get your ass handed to you when you get back on a start line for a half marathon, because you're just a little bit out of touch with the racing scene. So that's why we planned to do this 10K. I had originally planned to do another 10K about 2 weeks prior, but I wasn't ready. And that feeds into also the reason why I dropped out of this race. I just wasn't ready to race. That is both in mind and in body, but I didn't know that on the start line. And sometimes you can't know that without trying and failing. So I was feeling fairly positive going into this race. Yes, I had wanted to race 2 weeks prior. I'd had a little bit of interruption in my training, finding out that my iron levels were low, which was causing me to feel very fatigued and not being able to train properly. So I had about 3 or 4 weeks where I was just doing easy runs, and once a week I was trying to session and then either not being able to finish the session or not being able to recover from the session. I've then been taking the iron supplements. It feels like that started to make a difference. I don't have my updated levels yet, but I have had blood tests sent off. I currently have a very bruised finger from taking blood samples to find out if my iron is at all increasing. So I inevitably lost a little bit of fitness from that time, and I also lost a little bit of confidence because my body wasn't doing what it's best at, and it wasn't letting me do the training that I wanted to be doing. So we made the right call and shifted to this later 10K, but ultimately I think 3 weeks back into normal training wasn't enough to get me in the place that I needed to be. Now you might be watching this video thinking, Phily, you'd done the training that led up to this race. Surely you just knew that you weren't where you needed to be to race, or you knew that things were off, or that you didn't feel super fit. And I really didn't. I've been working so hard on being as positive as possible and getting myself back into a good place and doing all of the right things, that was my sole focus, rather than diving into the data and kind of sowing those seeds of doubts almost and trying to convince myself not to race, because I really wanted to go ahead with this and for it to go well. So although I was a little bit more nervous than usual because I hadn't raced since Berlin, it's a long time, I was feeling pretty good. You can see that on the whole, I'm my usual self before the race. From the footage that we filmed, not for this video, but for what was supposed to be a 10K race video. It just genuinely feels like it's been a long time since I raced, so it feels a bit strange. You've got to remind yourself that this is fun. It's going to be fun. We're going to go out there, have a good boogie, and this race has a purpose in the kind of grander scheme of things. So today is about showing where I'm at in the context of, you know, what I've been doing. It's not running a PB today, or like, who knows, that could always happen, but it's not about that. And it's not, I need to just remember that like today's about me and my performance, and I don't want to like measure myself up against other people. It's like comparing apples and pears. And I've stolen that from Izzy Fry, who gave me a good little pep talk last night. I told her that I was being a silly goose and getting a little bit nervous and getting in my own head about this race, and sort of explained to her my process and where I'm at and stuff, and she said, listen, Phily, other people might have tapered for this race and this might be their kind of key longer race before some indoor races, and I'm in a completely different space, so don't compare apples and pears. Izzy Fry, 28th of December 2024. And I was also presented with quite a significant challenge before the race even started, which, you know, could have meant game over before game over actually happened a third of the way into the race. And that was the problem of how to attach my timing chip to my shoe. I had taken with me the very snazzy, very light on light spray shoes with me to this race to wear for the 10K. And when I saw that the chip wasn't one of those chips that's stuck on the back of your number, I knew we had an issue because, well, normally you wrap the chip through your laces and secure it, and, well, the light sprays, they don't have laces.
What's that?
So this is a timing chip. You thread it through your laces on your shoe. What am I meant to do? Should I just tuck it in my sock? But I was a Sea Scout, and scouts come prepared. So I had foreseen this potential issue and brought my regular strike flats that do have laces with me. So, whew, crisis averted. Well, crisis number 1 averted. Crisis number 2, not averted. But you know what? It's not all doom and gloom, guys. We had a really, really scary goal last year of hitting 100,000 subscribers. Daniel didn't think it was possible. I knew that you guys, the people that watch our videos, are the best people out there in the world. I knew you'd pull through for us. So we didn't only hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, we hit it with about a month to go, and we're currently, if I just check the live, currently on 106,000 subscribers. Wow. Thank you. And because of that, we get a little present. Daniel's gonna be so annoyed that I'm opening this without him. This has been sat on our dining room table for over a week because it arrived and I've been putting off making this video where I wanted to unbox it, so we've not opened it until now, and it's just me and you. So savor this moment. This is a really special, intimate moment in time that can never happen again. And how am I gonna get in to this box? Just having to destroy it. I've got nails and everything, and it's just... YouTube have some sticky tape, like some really sticky tape. Well, guys, I was going to open the box and show you the silver play button, but I can't get into it. So, love the grind. Just kidding. Oh, it's a piece of felt. Are you ready? There she is. Wow, and we even get a little certificate. Do you remember your first subscriber, your 100th, or your 1000th subscriber? Chances are that you do. How would I know who my 100th and 1000th subscriber are? And we know that you'll definitely remember your 100,000th subscriber. Yeah, that's you, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
We are proud to honor your impressive milestone of reaching 100,000 subscribers with the Silver Creator Award. Congratulations. Thanks, Neil. It's lighter than I thought it was going to be. Ooh, it's a mirror. Wow. Well, can you see? That's my name. That is a thing of beauty, and it most certainly wouldn't be possible without all of you. So, time for a soppy thank you for just being here. If you're subscribed, that's great. Thanks for coming along for the journey. If you're not, and you come back and watch these videos, hit the subscribe button. If this is the first time you came across my channel, welcome to the chaos. In all seriousness, this feels like just the beginning, and we're gonna have to find some more scary goals because we are gonna be carrying on doing this for quite a long time. I've got a lot of running left to do. We've got a lot of life left to live. Yeah, that's the right word. And it feels really special to be just documenting it all and bringing you along for the journey. Big shout out as well to our patrons who go above and beyond supporting us in what we're doing on this YouTube channel and in my athletic goals as well. I genuinely have to pinch myself that I have people like that backing me. It's mad. It's mad! Get on with it! So with my chip on my laces, I got my warm-up done, I did my drills, I did my strides, and the body felt pretty good. Whilst it was quite a chilly, windy day and an undulating, fairly hilly 10K coming up, I felt good and I felt excited to be back on the start line. I went into it with the right amount of nerves and kind of trepidation that you should have for a race, but within about 3 or 4 minutes of the gun going off, I just felt really uncomfortable. Physically uncomfortable. I felt like I wasn't flowing. And it's hard to explain. My running didn't feel smooth, it didn't feel natural, my breathing didn't feel in sync with my legs. And there's part of that that's gonna be, it's just been a long time since you raced. But I think the bigger part of it was what had happened in the weeks before, the challenges I'd had in my training and with my health, with these iron levels and the fatigue, and it just was a little bit too tall an order for me to get through this 10K. And I think it also was compounded with the fact that those 3 weeks of normal training that I'd been increasing my volume week on week because I knew I had to get ready for this half marathon and I needed to build my fitness, but that meant that I was going into the race itself also quite tired. So just not a good combination. And in hindsight, I think both myself and my coach would have made the decision that it's not worth it. But like I said, going into the race, I didn't know that that was going to be the situation. So sometimes you only find out that you've made the wrong call or that you're not ready by trying to do the thing and it not coming off. And that is okay. Like if any of you DNF a race or have to drop out, whether it's for a specific injury or just feeling a little off, if you know in your gut that something's not right and your body is not in the position it needs to be in to race and for you to then be able to recover from that race, there is no shame in dropping out. And I think that was the thing. My head started to spiral. I kind of looked at where I was in the position of the race, and this is where I think the mental aspect comes in, and my paces were slipping. I was a third of the way into this 10K and it felt like I was 5 miles into this 10K, and I thought, what good am I going to do by hurling myself around a very subpar 10K performance to be potentially in a hole afterwards and then not able to continue my training to get to this half marathon. And so I stopped, and it never ever feels good to do that. I can distinctly remember the last time I DNF'd a race, and even though I fell over, just the thing inside you that makes you not get up and keep going, where you're kind of a bit beat, a bit defeated, is such a low place to be, and it sucks. But I turned around and jogged back to the start, which was kind of hilarious actually, looking back on it, because everyone that was behind me in this race was obviously running in the right direction. I was trying to not get in their way, but also not get cold by jogging back to the start. But I was also getting cheers from people that were in the race. Some people quite jolly and shouting, "Go Phily," or "Love the grind." And some people, I think, maybe noticing that I didn't look super happy, figuring out that I dropped out and was going the wrong way, and sounding concerned and sort of shouting a concerned, "Oh no, Phily," or asking if I'm okay, which was really nice. I've always been the sort of person to want to hide, run away and close the door when I'm sad. I've always been like that, and it's not a good way to be. I need to be better at, letting people in, but I just wanted to get out of there as quick as possible. So by the time I got to the finish line and sort of waved at Daniel, I sent him to go and get my shoes and my rucksack that I left inside, and I went back to the car and we just drove home pretty much in silence for the whole drive because I was so upset and I just needed to sort of process it. Oh, that dishwasher is so loud. I really hope it's not being picked up by this here microphone. If it is, I'm sorry. My dishes need to be cleaned. But process it, I did. I spoke to John. I spoke to a couple good friends of mine, and they really helped me process it as well. It's happened to them. It happens to all of us. It was really helpful listening to them talk about their experiences, not finishing a race, and for it being for the right reasons as well, and just kind of validating that I made the right call in the context of the situation. And also realising that in the grand scheme of things, this isn't a major marathon, it's not the World Championships, it was a local 10K that I wanted to do as a rust buster. It's really not the end of the world, and whilst I don't want to make a habit of not finishing races, it's okay. Then what I did was I drew a line under the situation and then drew myself stepping over that line to the other side and cracked on with the day in, day out of training. And I'm now in the position where I understand that doing the race was the right call, because actually that's what gave us the information that I'm not quite there yet and I'm not quite ready. And it's also led to me deciding not to do the Houston Half Marathon, which is a real shame because I was weirdly looking forward to going back to Houston for a bit of redemption after quite a tough marathon last year in January. But realistically, I just think 3 weeks on from DNFing a 10K, probably not going to be in the spot that I want to be in to thrash my legs around a half marathon in Houston. Maybe have quite a controlled race, but that's not something I want to do. I'd rather be fighting fit and ready to test myself on the start line. So we're gonna go back to the drawing board on that and just get some really good training in. So I'm doing that now. I'm back into training, feeling pretty good, waiting for those blood results. And next week, we're heading off to Flagstaff. So probably by the time this video's come out, we'll be there. And I'm not gonna be sharing a huge amount to start off with because we are actually currently in a little social media break apart from creating this video. We're taking a couple of weeks off of Instagram, taking a couple of weeks off of scheduled YouTube videos. That's for both of us to just rest a little bit. I think the back end of last year really tested us with it being so up and down with training and me feeling so fatigued and life just throwing us a couple of extra lemons, if you like. It's really nice to just go back to basics, get the routine of training in, take a step back from everything else and the rush of constantly needing to create, and hopefully come back with a newfound love for it and ready to be creative and bring to you the journey to my spring marathon, which I'm very excited for. But unfortunately, I'm not allowed to tell you which marathon it is.
You sure about that?
Because they've asked me not to until they've announced the start list. So I can't tell you that I'm doing the marathon, and from now on until I race the marathon, it's gonna just have to be bleeped out, unfortunately. So the really funny thing is, when I committed to doing the marathon a few weeks ago, they told me that I wasn't allowed to publicly announce my participation until they announced the start lists, which they said would be roughly a month before the race. So I thought, great, we'll just bleep out the name of the marathon, keep you guys guessing, and I'll film an announcement video and we can release that when the field is announced. I guess they got pretty excited because it is literally the fastest marathon field ever assembled, I think. So they've announced it early, and I'm just gonna live out that dream of bleeping out the from me saying the marathon for the rest of this video alone. I know some of you know what my next marathon is, but I'm still gonna make a video next week announcing that I'm running the marathon and talking about why it is so important to me specifically and why I'm so excited to be finally running that race. And whilst I won't see you for a couple of weeks until we are back creating a weekly YouTube video and killing it, I want to wish you a happy new year, and here's to 2025, a year of loving the grind. Peace.